Alright guys, welcome back to Audi Retrofit. So today we're back with my wife's 2014 Audi A3. Today it's going through one of the biggest transformations it can have. So this whole project started pretty much from this one grille. Now my wife asked to have this grille upgraded to one of the honeycomb grills from an RS3. Now there are plenty of Chinese aftermarket grills floating about on the market, but none of them for this year had the correct cutout for the adaptive cruise radar back here. And that meant that I would either have to cut my own hole for that radar to sit through or buy the original RS3 grille. Now I have seen someone cut the hole in the Chinese grille to make this work. However, it didn't look nice at all. The plastic on these grills are specifically finished in a way to make it look aesthetically pleasing, and just chopping it didn't do it justice. So I started looking into the actual RS3 grille, and at the time, that grille was £1,200 just to buy from Audi. There were no secondhand examples available on eBay or anywhere else that I could find. And I was just being stubborn. I said, look, I am not spending £1,200 on just one grille. If I'm gonna spend money, let's do it properly and let's do a full upgrade. And that's basically what's happened. So over here, I now have collected over the past 3 years, a ton of parts to fit onto this car. So in front of me here, we have an aftermarket RS bumper. Now this fits this car perfectly, supposedly, but it has the styling and the shape of the actual RS3, which will make the car super aggressive. I've also got here an RS3 grille with the cutout. This is done properly. This is an aftermarket piece, but it does still look perfectly matched to the original. Then we have some trims and some other grills that go into the bumper to finish it all off. Now the real money part were these two headlights. These are the genuine Audi full matrix beam LED headlights. These headlights are expensive. They retail for about £2,000 each, and there was no way I was going to pay that much for them. So these two headlights are what have set back the install, because there was no way I'm paying £2,000 a piece. I did manage to get them at a fraction of the price, but they have come perfect, fully wrapped with the modules attached to save me a ton of money. And hopefully when I get them plugged in, they should just work. Now there's another complication to installing matrix headlights onto a car that wasn't previously matrix beam. Now this does have the full LED headlights and it is a very spec'd up car. But to get matrix to work on this car, you have to upgrade a ton of modules. In fact, after doing some homework and some testing, I have figured out that I have to change every single control module in the car. Yes, that's right, every single one. So let's get our geek on and we'll get into why we have to change every module in this car. Now to start with, let's explain what matrix headlights is. So matrix beam headlights, LED headlights, which have the normal low beam, but when you put it up into high beam, it will illuminate everything up in front of you. But if you're traveling over 40 miles an hour, then the matrix part turns on. And what that basically does is if your high beam is on and there's a car coming towards you, the camera at the top of the windscreen will be able to see the car coming up ahead and just black out that car alone. Everything else will still stay as a high beam, but just that one car will be dimmed out to prevent the car from blinding the oncoming car. And it can do it with multiple cars up ahead. And if it sees street lights, it knows that it doesn't need the high beam on, so it will automatically drop that down for you. And once again, once you get into a darker area, the high beam will go up automatically. You don't have to press the stalks or anything else, and it will just go up and again, black out areas where it thinks there might be a car where you will be blinding them. So it's a very smart system. Now, as I said, it works with that camera at the top of the windscreen. And to get this system to work properly in this car, I have to change that camera. Now, when I change that camera and code it up for matrix, that will in turn throw an error on that adaptive cruise module. So that then forces me to upgrade the adaptive cruise control module that is compatible with that camera. So that's those two. Now, to get the matrix beam to also work, I have to upgrade the car's internal BCM, the body control module, which is what powers all the lights up and gives the smarts to the headlight. So we've changed the BCM, we've changed the camera, and we've changed the adaptive cruise. Then the side assist on this car, the blind spot assist that's on the side of this mirror, that will start throwing a fault because it can't talk properly to the rest of the modules in the car. And so you end up having to change out the side assist. When you're doing that, you have to now also change out the door modules in the car because they are linked to the side assist lights. So as you can see, quite quickly, you go down a slippery slope of having to change every control module in the car, all to facelift spec. But not all is lost. I don't just have to change them just for the sake of it. I do get some benefits from changing them. When I change up to facelift parts all throughout the car, I get to unlock all the newer facelift features. For instance, when I change out the camera at the top of the windscreen and I pair that with the adaptive cruise radar, I get to unlock a new feature, part of the traffic sign recognition system. So let's say we're driving along at 50 miles an hour and we have the cruise control set to 50. If it sees a new speed sign of 40 miles an hour, the camera will tell the cruise control to adjust its speed based off that 40 miles an hour limit. It's very smart in how it works. I have the same system working in my Audi A7, so I know it works, and it's a really cool system that I'm actually used to, but it doesn't have it in this car, and I really want to get this upgraded and working in here too. So I have collected all the parts and all the modules I need to change. There is one module that is a bit more of a problem, and it lives under the bonnet. It's the ABS pump. We also have to change that one out so that it can work perfectly with everything else that's in the car. For that, I will need to visit one of my mechanic friends, but that will come another day. For today, we're going to get started on this front end and get that bumper, grille and headlights installed up onto the car. I do need to make some tweaks onto the adaptive cruise, and I have one more special thing to add as well, which we'll get onto a bit later on. So we've got the front bumper off, and it doesn't look too bad behind here. I know this car doesn't have any accident history, so it's nice and clean and there's nothing to be worried about. So the new bumper shouldn't have any difficulty going back into place. But there is a few things I need to do on the new bumper. So firstly, we have to build it, but while we're building it, I have to make a couple of adjustments to it too. So this bumper comes in pieces. We've got the lower trim pieces here. We have some of these side pieces that go in at the bottom of the bumper there. We've got the side grills as well as the center grille. But this bumper only has a parking sensor hole on the side here and nothing on the far edge, as this bumper was intended for cars with just front parking sensors. So 2 go in the grille and 2 go in the side of the bumper. Whereas on the original bumper, we have this sensor here, but we also have an additional sensor on the side, and this is for parking assist. Now, I don't want to lose any features when I'm upgrading the car, so I'm going to have to try and install this sensor into that bumper. Now, there's 2 ways of going about this. I can either try and remove this whole bracket and move the whole thing over to that side and glue it back in, or I can just create the sensor hole that will be like this, so it's flush fit and looks nice and flat. And I can have that installed up on the side here somewhere. Okay, that's taken me quite some time to build up this bumper. This thing is an absolute pig to put together. Being that it's aftermarket, all the pieces you have to do like individually, bit by bit, and some of them are just really tough to put together, but got there in the end. The bumper's about 95% complete. The headlight washers, turns out the pre-facelift ones do not fit the facelift bumper, so I've had to order some new headlight washers. But this is the final look. This bumper is absolutely gorgeous. Ever since I first saw it fitted onto the RS3, I just knew this is the look you need to go for. If you're going to do a facelift, this is it. Now you can see on the side here, I've installed the side parking sensor on the edge of the bumper there. It doesn't look too bad if I say so myself. Nice flush fit install using the genuine Audi tools to do it. Again, on the other side, we've installed it into the same location, so it looks even both sides. And yeah, I can't wait to get this on the car. But before I throw the bumper on, I have to change out the headlights, the wiring, and the ACC unit at the bottom of the bumper there. So there's a lot more work to do here before that can go on. And I did promise one more special thing. So I do have an extra part to go onto this bumper, just to give it that extra little touch. So this is the special part that I was talking about. This is a Maxon Design front splitter for an RS3 facelift, which will fit this bumper perfectly. So along with the splitter, I also have the rest of the Maxon parts to go on the car. But for now, while we have the bumper off, let's put this splitter on. All right, so it's the next day and I'm back in, and I sprained my wrist. I've been feeling some pain in my wrist for the last few days, and as a precautionary measure, I am wearing a wrist strap. Keep using my hand as like a hammer when I'm putting door panels back on, and I think I might have done something to it. But anyway, got a compression strap on it. It feels a lot better now. I walked in today and I took a look at that and I was like, wow, that looks awesome. I can't wait to put that on the car. Now, last night I was here till fairly late, and I test fitted everything. I put the headlights onto the car and I put the bumper and I sort of lined it up just to see how it fits, and it fits quite well. But today I'm in to basically get those headlights installed, wired up, and get the control modules inside the car all hooked up as well. I have already, off camera, changed the adaptive cruise radar to the new facelift version. So that's already been done, but I've just been sat at the computer for the last hour, just working out the wiring differences between what's here on the plugs already in the car, from this 14-pin plug to what it needs to be for those headlights to work. One other problem is the old headlights plug mounts into the side of the headlight here. The new headlight plug mounts up in the back over here, and this doesn't stretch enough, so I'm going to have to extend all the wiring from here and move the plug over to this location around the back. And then once I'm done with the headlight plugs, I'll need to come over here, strip this bit off because the BCM lives back here, repin and change some of the wiring configuration on this side, and change out the BCM to that of the facelift version. And then I'll have to come over to this side and replace out the leveling module that lives behind the panels over here. That leveling module is responsible for actually sending all the power and the smart tech to the headlights for the matrix beam to work properly. So that's another facelift module we have to install to get just the headlight part working. Once I've done that, I also need to replace out the camera. So I finished off with the wiring on the headlights, and I fitted the headlights kind of into place. I haven't screwed it down properly, but I have got the screws there to hold the headlight in place. So now what I'm going to do is grab the bumper. I've just figured out that the number plate holder has to be screwed on from behind. So I have to do this before I fit it onto the car. So I've just put on the number plate holder. So then I'll get the bumper and I'll test fit it onto the car. I'm not going to screw it in properly, but I get to at least test the electrics all work, and the airbag sensors that are on the bumper now work with the car. There shouldn't be any reason why it wouldn't work because it is the original sensors, but I have moved it onto the bumper here. So just want to make sure it's all good before I go ahead and do all the wiring inside for the headlights. I also do need to move the car because I'm going to need access for the unit tomorrow, as I've got other cars booked in. So I can get it off the jack stands and I can move the car to the back of the unit over there. All right guys, so you join me here in the unit. I have behind me my Audi A7, and then in the corner over there, the Mrs. A3. I've had some items delivered and I'm going to go through just installing all the little bits that I've turned up, miscellaneous little bits. So for instance, this is the boot trim from her car, and I've got it around here somewhere. Right, this is the little button that was given with the kit to pop open the boot. It works fine, but it just doesn't look quite Audi enough for me. So what I've done is I've ordered, and it's just arrived, this. So this is the actual boot button from an A4, I think it is, or A6. They all use the same part. So I've got this button, which I have already converted, and on the end of it, I've got the plug that plugs into the system in that boot lid. I've tested it and it works. So what you find me doing now is cutting the hole here bigger to allow this button to fit. So I've been slowly chipping away, just taking little bits out using my Dremel here. It's not exactly the right size just yet, but I've got the button to fit. So now it's just very small adjustments I need to make just to get that to fit in. And then I can put that back and it will look like the complete OEM install. Remember, this electric boot is never an option on an A3. So I'm trying to make it look as OEM as possible. All right, so I'm done with the boot trim and I've reinstalled it back into place. So now this is the new Audi one that is mounted in properly. This is the aftermarket one that was given. And you can see the graphic on it is a bit off. I don't know what it is about this one. It just didn't look right. Also lights up in red, that lights up in white as it should. And Audi OEM just looks better in my opinion. So changing out that button set made it work. Now the wiring was a bit different, but I managed to get it to sync up and work properly. So as you can see, it's lit up as it's in the car. Press the button and it will pull the boot lid down as it should, which is absolutely amazing if I'm honest. Once it's down, we can just press the button again from the inside and that will pop it back up. So yeah, awesome. Now, while I'm here, I did say that some other parts were delivered. Now, one of the parts that come was the headlight washers. So if you remember, I said when I did the front bumper that the washer from the facelift model is different to the one in the pre-facelift. So here's the pre-facelift one still attached to the hose. Now if you just put them side by side, first thing I notice is this one is shorter. The new one is a bit longer. I think that's because the new bumper does stick out a bit more than the old one did. Also, this one, the older one, is a bit more narrower. So if you look top down, you can see that bit sticks out just a bit more. And what that means is that the screw holes will now line up with the new covers because this one didn't line up to the bumper properly. So now that it's here, I can swap out the two washer jets onto the hose and then reinstall this into the front bumper on the car. Now the bumper is not on the car properly. I have sort of mounted it on and I used a couple of screws to hold it in place, but I haven't screwed the whole thing back in. So I will be able to take it off quite easily and then refit in the new washer jets with the caps. Then once that's done, I can properly refit the bumper onto the car and I won't have to take it off again, providing the adaptive cruise control doesn't mess around and I don't have to remove it from the car. So that's the car back together now. I fitted in the headlight washers onto both sides and I secured the headlight washer cap onto the actual washer behind it. Another thing I had to do was adjust the adaptive cruise control radar. So at the moment, the radar now sits in line with this hole. I noticed when I was refitting everything back in that the sensor was like dipped down. About this much of the sensor was missing behind the grille. Now it turns out that when you fit this grille, you do need to raise the sensor up, and there's a special bracket that you need for that. Now I had this information beforehand and I did buy the bracket, I just didn't think I'd needed it because when I first lined up the bumper it looked like it was sitting okay, but this time around I noticed half the sensor was dipped out of the way, so I fitted the bracket and that then raised the ACC unit higher and in line with this square cutout. So that's now fitted in correctly. Now I have to say the front end of this car looks so mean and aggressive. I absolutely love the way it looks. And it's not just about the way it looks, also the way it works. I have been spending quite some hours coding in these front lights and I've got them to now finally work. There is a caveat to that, but we'll get onto that in a bit. Let me just show you it working though. So if I just come in and flick on the ignition, the lights straight away work and you can see them. They balance themselves up and down. So I'm just going to switch off the headlights so we can see the daytime running light. And to be honest, this is my first time seeing it up front. And oh my God, how nice does that look? They're so bright and they're so clean. The way it looks is just, oh, lovely. I can't even believe this is still her car. That front end makes such a difference. Now there are a few other things that I've done to the headlights. So I'm just going to hit the hazard button over here. And the first thing you notice is inside everything flashes. All the ambient lights are synced into the car's control and flashes the ambient lights inside in sync with the outside hazard lights. Now, second thing you'll notice is out here. These lights are now sweeping. So the indicators on a matrix headlight sweep outwards and it's only reserved for the matrix lights. Normal A3 LED headlights only flash. The matrix ones are the ones that sweep outwards. And that's perfectly matched with our aftermarket sweeping mirror lights too. Now the final thing about these lights is they are full matrix. However, that part hasn't been sussed out yet. And the reason that is because the full matrix relies on the camera at the top of the windscreen. So I have plugged in the new camera unit that is required for the matrix to work, but I haven't actually mounted it to the glass and it needs a calibration as well. The calibration can only be done once it's fitted to the glass, but the problem is that the bracket that sits there is actually a different shape to the one of this camera. So I now need to replace the bracket or replace out the whole windscreen. I've reached out to a friend of mine who does windscreen fitting and I've asked to see if he can get me a bracket. If that doesn't work, I might just have to bite the bullet and replace out the whole windscreen. But once that's done, the matrix beam will come into play. So if I just flick on the low beam headlights again and then flick on the main beam, we get this main beam assist fault. So that's coming up because it can't yet talk to the camera 100%. But if we flick it again, you can see full beam now works. Once I get that calibrated, that error will go away. But the main beam does work. So for the time being, driving around is possible, just the matrix beam isn't fully working. But we'll get that resolved very soon. So now after a few grueling days, the front end facelift is now finally complete. And that front end looks absolutely immense. There are still a few coding tweaks that I need to do, and I need to calibrate the front radar and the front camera, but that's for another day, as I still have a lot more work and modules to swap in the car before I can code them all to work properly. So guys, let me know what you think about this front end facelift with the RS3 bumper and the matrix headlights. And if you like this kind of project, make sure to hit like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you know when the next video is posted. Until then guys, take care and I'll see you on the next one.